All right, I need all the Texas A&M fan base and followers to listen up and just vibe with me here. I know you guys are growing more impatient by the day, all right? I know you haven't won the big one since World War II, and I know you see Georgia finally getting theirs, and like J.G. Wentworth, you want your natty and you want it now. But there is one more year of suffering before you have the best opportunity since your granddaddy's grandpappy. Now, this year will be the biggest test that the A&M fan base has had yet. After garnering that incredible recruiting class last year, and they've stacked a bunch of them on each other, and taken down Nick Saban with a backup quarterback last year. Now, while this team is going to be good, with what you have coming back in 2023, you'll be more stout than Aaron Donald in an Irish pub. You'll basically return everyone up front on both sides of the ball, and I think you're going to have a proven quarterback that's going to be returning. Now, the Aggies have unflinching support from a huge population of people. But those same people cannot pollute what could be the golden year in 2023 because of the negative energy caused by another 9 or 8 win season this year. And I get Jimbo's in year 5, okay? I understand. But he is building a program, unlike Kevin Sumlin, who was just building an offense and basically had a nightclub in his office like one of the Butabi brothers off Night at the Roxbury. Now, people will compare their records, but to me, that's mirage, considering the SEC continues to get better and deeper every year. Now, Jimbo realizes that to bridge the gap between Alabama and now Georgia, you have to do it up front. And they're doing just that. And this is the same guy that got Christian Ponder and Kellen Mond drafted. So the questions about his ability to develop quarterbacks need to go ahead and die at the door. He's also living in the same division as the greatest football coach in college we've seen ever, and is one of the few coaches who have bested him. Now, I'm not saying that Jimbo's going to be let go if this season doesn't end up with a big ring, but negative energy by a fan base of this size can cause way more harm in coaches' offices and the locker room than one may think. And knee-jerk reactions and paralysis by analysis is going to do nothing but make the mountain harder to climb in 2023. The hardest year to wait is always the year before the ceiling finally gets broken through. And 2023 has the makings to be one Aggie fans will never forget. So be patient. Your time is coming. Now, I'm going to go ahead and bring in David Cohn and Pablo Escobar over here. There will be A&M fans that say, oh, I'm sick of hearing be patient. I'm sick of it. I want it. And I get that. I understand that. Two things can be true at once. We lose that nowadays way more than we should. Number one, if you jump off the Jimbo train after this year, who you going to get?
Yeah.
Who you going to get? And number two, if you look at A&M's trajectory, at the positions that it matters the most, okay, up front, A&M is doing as well as anybody in recruiting, and that's the quickest way to do it. You have seen, and we have seen this multiple times, teams that play Alabama and Georgia now, maybe they'll come out hot, maybe it'll be a game for a little bit, then eventually gravity takes over up front. Jimbo understands that. And A&M fans will dismiss this and say, oh, it's saying wait another year and we're always waiting another year. Well, you know what? You haven't won one since 1939, so what's one more year to wait?
There you go. That was my point exactly. I mean, you're talking about there are going to be Texas A&M fans who lose patience after this season, but why? I don't understand. I mean, to me, Jimbo Fisher has accomplished more in his football career than Texas A&M has, at least in my lifetime. I mean, he's won a national championship. But I do respect how passionate Texas A&M fans are. It is something to behold. And I respect the fact that this fan base says we expect to be the best every single season. I like that. You know, I really do. So on your point on Texas A&M, how many games do you think they'll win this year?
I think the ceiling is 10. I don't see.
Which is a good season.
It's a great season. It's a great season. But it feels 9-3-ish to me, 8-4. Again,
8-4 is different. 8-4 is different because I think Max Johnson's a great quarterback.
I think he is too. I think he is a year away from being an outstanding quarterback, having a year in that system, because I do think he's going to be the guy, and he's going to be surrounded by dogs. There are going to be dogs up front, out wide, in the backfield. The defense is going to be solid and deep, and DJ Durkin's over there now, a guy I have a lot of respect for. And again, I know it absolutely grinds A&M fans' gears to hear, all right, well, we're just going to do it next year, and well, we're paying them all this money, and it's year 5. I don't think that people really understand the program that Jimbo inherited. Not that there weren't some good players on the roster, but the culture at A&M, the way it was then, and the culture at A&M, the way it is now, is totally different. and way more productive. And again, remember what Georgia fans were saying. Oh, Kirby can't beat Saban.
Yep.
Kirby, they can't get over the Alabama hump. They're never going to beat him. Kirby can't do it. And then he goes and wins the Natty, and they're going to build a statue of him, and they should. All it takes is that 1 year. And in my opinion, not saying A&M couldn't fool everybody this year and go on some crazy run. We've seen crazier things. But I think it's way more likely that 2023, all right, year 6 under Jimbo, I think that's the year. Remember, people at Clemson wanted to fire Dabo. And then all of a sudden, boom, the glow up happens. I can feel the booster club, right? I can just feel it.
I love that you brought up Georgia, though, because I think Jimbo Fisher at Texas A&M can replicate what Kirby Smart has done at Georgia. And
look at what they're doing in recruiting.
And Kirby Smart inherited a much better situation from Mark Richt at Georgia.
For sure.
It still took him how many seasons? More than 5. Right?
Yeah.
So it can be done, and Jimbo Fisher has won at Florida State, and the main reason he left was because they didn't have the resources.
Well, and
they wouldn't give him the resources he wanted.
That's exactly right. And now he's got more resources.
He has whatever he wants.
He's Willy Wonka. The whole factory's his. But when you look, again, Blaine, all right, and you look at what Saban's done in Alabama in the West and the SEC in general, it's obviously tough. But A&M, from a personnel standpoint, from a facility standpoint, from a coaching standpoint, Jimbo doesn't get enough credit, I think, as a play caller because his offense isn't this Globetrotters razzle-dazzle offense. You want to know why? Because he knows you can't trick your way to a national championship. If it was that easy, then a team that went as fast as anybody in the world would win it every single year. That's why I think until Tennessee slows it down, which you've seen Mike Leach have to slow it down when he got in the SEC, you've seen Lane Kiffin have to slow it down in the SEC, I'd be willing to bet my bottom dollar, little orphan Annie, that Tennessee, after this year, starts going the speed limit a little bit more because Jimbo realizes you have to be able to control the clock, which isn't just slowing it down. Controlling the clock is a 2-minute drill as well. It's fast and slow. It's a common misconception. But when you look at A&M with that type of loyalty in that fan base, and they've been waiting and waiting and waiting, and they've been passing down this waiting from great-grandfather to grandfather to father to son, and now they feel like they're almost there. It's 1 more year. Just don't panic. But I feel like they're going to panic.
I just feel like every time we talk about Texas A&M or someone Texas, 1 more year. It's 1 more year.
No, Texas is back every year.
Yeah, true. But it's the next year. It's this year. NIL was huge for A&M.
Of course.
Giant for A&M. Texas has money. There's no regard that they don't have money. But I have to see it on the field. Texas A&M, even going back to last year's team, that defense was so
well. They could, in my opinion,
people always say Zach Calzada won that Alabama game. That defense won that game.
Defense won the Auburn game too.
Exactly, and you're seeing the blueprint and how it's getting built. It's out now. It's been out for a couple years.
Yeah.
I mean, Kirby got it from Saban. A&M, you have to build it inside out. If you can run the ball and stop the run, you have a chance to win every game.
Exactly right.
Every game. Defense wins championships, right? I don't care what offense realistically. I know a couple Bama players got hurt, but that defense from Georgia, that's where you want to go to. You can have a mediocre offense and a defense that good and win a championship.
And this is what I say about Texas, and I was saying this last night. Everybody at Texas I talked to, like, Sark is a wizard on offense, and this, that. Yes, offense is really not the problem at Texas. It's stopping someone. That's where they've struggled because if you are going to make the run and just to make the playoff in a 12-game regular season, I don't care what conference you play in, whether it's baseball, whether it's football, whether it's basketball, there are nights where the offense is not clicking. And in football, especially even if you have a high-powered offense, those 2 games where maybe you only scored 24 or you scored 27 and you need the defense and special team to bail you out, you got to have a complete team to be able to escape those. Great example, 2019 LSU with Joe Burrow and them go to Auburn. Unbelievable offense. One of the best offenses we ever seen. They struggled moving the ball the whole game, and the defense bailed them out and won it. You've seen this with Alabama a ton. There's been times where the offense did not show up at all, but the defense was able to keep them in it and was able to solidify it at the end when they finally did go score. That is the blueprint. That's how it works. You can win some games by tricking people, but you can't win national championships by tricking people. Another guy that came in the SEC and went fast early and then all of a sudden the book got out on it, Gus Malzahn, he wasn't going fast at all by the time he left Auburn. You want to know why? Because if the defense is out there for 65 plays a half, you're going to get lit up in the second half. That's how football works. So it may not be the sexiest offense all the time. It may not razzle-dazzle them and be some, crazy out-of-the-box type thinking. But at the end of the day, it's not about getting to the playoff. It's about getting to the playoff and winning a national championship. Because if you ain't first, you're last.
And that's the beauty of football. I mean, when you're as efficient as possible in all three phases of the game, you give yourself a chance to win more ball games, especially on the road, especially in hostile environments, especially in close games. And you used to make a point last season, which I loved about Kirby Smart at Georgia, which is, Georgia fans, I get it. You had Alabama on the ropes. When Tua came in and threw that touchdown pass to Devontae Smith and you lost the championship, you had Alabama on the ropes a couple other times. You were this close, but be careful because you just may run Kirby Smart off. Because this is the guy who's going to win you national championship.
And he did.
He made that point. And then he won national championship. I think the same thing kind of applies to Texas A&M, with Jimbo Fisher is like, yes, they expect more than an 8-4 season. Like 8-4 isn't good enough at this point with the recruiting classes that he's been able to stack on top of each other. And I say about Jimbo Fisher what I say about Jim Harbaugh a lot of times, which is, or Jim Harbaugh before Cade McNamara had such an efficient season last year, which was he's the quarterback guru. He needs to get a great quarterback in there and develop them and that be a strength of the offense, not just getting by with the Kellen Monds of the world. Exactly. And so it's like, be careful because you don't want to run Jimbo Fisher off to another big time opportunity that comes along after he does go 11-1 or 12-0.
Yeah, I agree. And I think sometimes when you have a guy like Johnny Manziel, okay, it kind of spoils you and gives you a false sense. Johnny Manziel win the national championship. He didn't even sniff it. Like, yeah, he was great. He won the Heisman. A&M don't want the Heisman.
Yeah.
They want to win the national championship. Hell, they want to win the West. It's tough to get there if you don't win the West. We've seen it before, especially if your name's not Alabama, because you don't know if they're going to put you in. And I think they should have put him in a couple years ago during the shortened season over Notre Dame. But I would much rather have a guy that wins me. I'd much rather have a Stetson Bennett with a team around him that wins me a national championship than Johnny Manziel running around there with a playground offense, making crazy plays to Mike Evans and not even sniffing it.
Well, you're Texas A&M. You should be happy about this because you're in the conversation.
For sure.
You're in the conversation with guys who have won it. You're somewhat sitting at the table because at the end of the day, if you recruit and you recruit well on classes, you will be able to go toe-to-toe with people for 4 quarters. You have to have the bodies in there, getting the bodies and the athleticism. And the guys who usually go to Bama, usually go to Georgia, they're starting to like A&M. It's a different flavor. The mountaintop's there. You can see it. You just have to keep your skis on and trust the people that are with you to take you there.
All right, hey, if you like what you heard, go ahead and ring that bell. Turn those notifications on. We're bringing it every day, daily from 2 to 3 Central, and we want you here. I can hear it ringing now.